and welcome back to the Boot Room. Today we're looking at the 5-2 away win at Everton. There were many encouraging themes in this game, and it seems that Ranieri has spent his first full week with his first full squad to very good use. The Watford attack pressed for far further up the pitch, with Joshua King leading the line, but with Hernandez and Sarr far closer and far more active and aggressive in shutting down passing options for the Everton defence. Playing in a 4-3-3, Kuchka and Tufan were detailed to support and also picked up positions blocking passing angles, and this affected the quality of the ball played out from Everton in a similar way to that we've experienced against Leeds and Liverpool in our last two games. Watford conceded an early goal, but the concern about Ngakia being caught upfield was clear to see even earlier. Here a ball is played and the right back realises he's not going to get to it, so he backtracks quickly and defends the space in behind him properly. Everton targeted getting in behind Ngakia, with Gray, Gordon and Digne often outnumbering us down our right, and they did so successfully shortly after, breaking when Ngakia was in an advanced position following an attack. From this position there looks little danger as we have sufficient numbers in attendance, but Tom Davies gets across Cathcart and Messina to finish and make it 1-0 to the Toffees. Watford reacted well and continued to play with a far higher energy and positivity levels than have been witnessed so far this season. Sissoko appears to be growing into his role in the team. Against Leeds he had rarely passed forward. However, after being given the captaincy in an encouraging performance versus Liverpool, he offered an option when the fullbacks got the ball and looked where possible to play forward, similar to that which Calvin Phillips had offered Leeds against us. He went on to orchestrate the movement of the ball when being played out from the back, and we looked far more coherent for it, along with being used to play the long diagonal balls previously left to William Troost-Ekong. Here, King and his wide supporting players worked far harder and far closer together to retain the ball. Another improvement from last week against Liverpool: if the ball was wide, we still defended the whole width of the pitch. Against Everton, we halved the pitch. When the ball was wide, we would congest and move across and congest around the ball. This involves pushing in formation from one side of the pitch to the other, but in a far closer alignment, therefore having far more players in close proximity to the ball and putting pressure on the ball, and this worked really effectively, bearing in mind the squad will have only been working on it for a week with Ranieri. Ngakia was fouled near the touchline and the resulting free kick was dispatched by King, but there were some really nice touches. Both Tufan and Messina stood over the ball, pulling two Everton players out of the area. Tufan moved away, drawing one defender out of the way and allowing Messina more room to play an in-swinging cross. Everton, who were marking zonally, had three players attack the ball, but a ricochet off Cathcart brought the ball to King, who reacted quickly for his first goal for Watford, although once again VAR made him have to wait to celebrate it. The game continued and Watford looked so much better than they had in previous weeks, but effectively both sides were unable to generate really clear-cut chances in the first half. Watford continued to halve the pitch, but this can cause problems if opposition players outnumber you and you switch the ball quickly. In this case, the ball from Townsend wasn't good enough to really cause too much alarm. Watford continued to defend set pieces effectively. Sarr beat Digne and created a chance for King, but Pickford stuck out a leg to deny the Watford forward a second goal, at least for the moment. The game started to stretch further and further out as players tired, and Benitez introduced Richarlison and removed Gray. Watford defended a free kick, but from the resulting second phase of play, Seamus Coleman was still in the box and seemingly took Cathcart's attention as the ball was delivered into Richarlison entirely unmarked in the centre of the goal to head past. Something certainly to work on next week for the Tinkerman there. Again, and possibly most pleasing of all, was the reaction from the team of not giving up or even looking remotely sorry for themselves when going behind, but instead of plugging away and sticking to the high work rate and the more energy consuming game plan. Ranieri made a move that will have had many of us raising eyebrows. While Sarr had not his most influential game with the ball, he is always the most likely to create something, and he'd worked extremely hard shutting down the opposition. Both he and Toffeemen were replaced by Pedro and Dennis, and both would go on to torment the Everton backline. Richarlison is always likely to win free kicks around the edge of the area, and so Ranieri swapped Ngakia for Nkulu. Cathcart moved to right back, where he was no longer facing Gray, but effectively we had 4 6'2" plus defenders to defend any set pieces, which suddenly seemed Everton's most likely threat. From a corner, Everton's zonal marking system confusion allowed an unmarked Kuchka to steal in from the edge of the box unmarked and to head home. Kuchka enjoyed his knee slide in front of the away fans. The Watford energy levels didn't dip. In fact, with the substitutions, we had fresh pairs of legs to run at the home side. Kuchka and Dennis combined to win the ball back, and whilst Kuchka played the ball forward to Pedro, Dennis ran forward supporting. Pedro played the ball on and Dennis bounded further onwards, drawing the lone Keane away from King. Dennis's pass was perfection, and King finished past the on-rushing Pickford. King decided his knee slide should be accompanied with the removal of his shirt. Some fine footwork from Sissoko saw Hernandez dart down the left, but his cross looked to be cleared by any one of 3 Everton defenders once more. But again, they simply got in each other's way, and the ball fell to Pedro, who played the ball into King, who was being played onside by the unfortunate Keane. King took his time before calmly finishing off a very well-deserved hat-trick to make it 4-2. The fun wasn't finished, however, and Pedro flicked on to King, who back-heeled the ball back to the Brazilian. Pedro squared the ball to Dennis, who put Coleman on the floor with a dummy, and before finishing calmly past Pickford. Dennis's knee slide involved crossed arms and a smirk, and was a fine addition to the knee slide collection for the afternoon. But my favourite sight was the chest bump between Pedro and Dennis that followed. Both had been on the bench, and their reaction to being so was to be devastating once they finally got on the pitch. It gives the Tinkerman a quandary as to who to start against Southampton. Summary. Ranieri had little time with the full squad before Liverpool because of players returning from international duty. This looked like a full week had been spent on the training pitch and been spent well. Halving or condensing the pitch worked beautifully. Creating superiority of numbers around the ball to win the ball and win the second ball and place pressure on the opposition. The higher and more aggressive pressing of the ball, constantly supported by teammates. The use of substitutions to make us more effective in both boxes was so refreshing. We mustn't get carried away. More of the same, please, as the squad has now set its own high watermark for performances. They could get even better. But first of all, we must replicate what we've done here time and time again and gain consistency and make this high energy game this team's identity.